I'm not going to big Emily up. She's going to big herself up.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to pray before we start, and then I'm going to explain who I am. Thank you very much. I did not mean to come in with this much heat. Okay. Father, thank you so much for your word. Bless the preparation that I have done, but also if you want me to throw it out, let's do that. Let's be followed by your spirit this morning. Amen. Right, so I'm Emily. I think we're there. I do a few things here. I lead the young adults with Susie. I also help out with youth. But none of you have heard me do this bit before. None of you have heard me speak or preach, whatever you want to call it. So I just want to give you a heads up about what I'm going to call it a style, is I assume nothing. Basically, when I became a Christian at 19, I'd be hanging out with my friends or listening to someone speak, and they'd use words, and I'd have no idea what they were talking about. So I'd zone out, and that's not very helpful. So when I speak, I explain stuff. If you know what I'm talking about, give me a second. Let's journey together. I'm going to explain words and ideas as we go through. But if I don't do it well or I've missed something, please ask someone. Don't leave this space without having asked that question. We want to all journey together. We're in a series at the moment on Micah. Micah is in the Old Testament, which is basically the stuff that happened before Jesus was born. But the whole Bible is about Jesus. And that's basically what we're going to be covering today. Micah is what we call a minor prophet. I'm going to explain both those words, prophet first. A prophet is someone that hears directly from God. They have a direct line to him, and God tells them truths about the time that they're in and about futures they can't possibly know about. Those truths that they speak of are things that were true then, they're true now, and they will be true forever. And those futures that they speak of, some of them we can read in the Bible, and some of them we're still waiting for. He is a minor prophet because he says less and his book is shorter than a major one. That's it. Doesn't make his words any less true, doesn't make him any less qualified to speak. In fact, there are major prophets that are born later that quote him. His words are well respected. He just says less, which if I'm honest, I could learn from. I'm going to try not to waffle, but we'll see how we go. If you have been around for the other talks in this series, you may have noticed there's a lot of judgment going on. Micah is punchy. He does not hold back on his opinion, but he ends his judgments in hope. Micah 5 is almost a breath of fresh air near the middle. He isn't calling anybody out. He instead does an extended section just on hope, which is frankly ideal for me because I get to chat about hope. It is probably one of the more famous passages in Micah. It's usually read out in Christmas, which might give you a hint about what I'm going to chat about. If you were going to sum up the book of Micah in 3 words, you could not go far wrong from 3 that I read: justice, peace, and the Messiah. And today we get to chat about peace and the Messiah, which is great news. The Messiah is a person that God sends to save the world. Now we know that that is Jesus, and I'm going to explain how he does that in a little bit. Let's go to verse 2. It talks about Bethlehem and Ephrathah. That's what we're going with. They are 2 places that are associated with one another and end up being one place. It's just Bethlehem. Micah is doing a lot of connecting work here. There was a famous king that came before that was born in Bethlehem. His name was David. And while David was alive, God made a promise to him that someone in his descendants, so his family tree, would, as God puts it in 2 Samuel, and I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong, he will raise up your, David's, offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and blood, and I will establish his kingdom. He is the one who will build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he will be my son. Now, David does actually have a son. His name was Samuel. He does build a temple. But we know from reading Micah, it did not establish God's throne forever. The nation is now divided, and they are a small people. So, either God got it wrong, or he is talking about someone else. And Micah is connecting us to that someone else. that someone else who is of old, from ancient times, as Micah puts it, someone who was there in the beginning, God's Son, Jesus Christ. Micah really hammers home this connection thing with King David. If you look in verse 4, it talks about a shepherd. If you weren't aware, David was also a shepherd before he was chosen by God to become king. If you know the story of David and Goliath, the little shepherd boy with his slingshot and his stones, that was David. Varied life, that man. But he was a shepherd. The shepherd in verse 4, the one who leads his flock in the learning of who God is and what God does. This is also about Jesus. And we know that because Jesus says it. He calls himself the Good Shepherd in John chapter 10. I'm going to read the main bit, but would highly suggest that you go and have a look at John chapter 10 if you haven't. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. This shepherd knows all his sheep's names. He leads them and goes before them. Did you know that sheep genuinely do this? They will know their shepherd's voice and they will only follow them. That's like a fact. The shepherd not only cares about his sheep, but he will lay down his life to protect them from animals and from thieves. And how do sheep repay this unbelievable kindness? I'm not going to lie, sheep are hot messes. They get lost, they get stuck. They basically go everywhere you don't want them. If you've watched Clarkson's Farm, they have a whole thing about sheep. They're a mess. And I also watch a YouTube channel about a guy who has bought some land and he's just got some sheep. He's trying out some farming. He has to go more than once a day to find his sheep because they jump the electric fence he put in and the trench that they dug to keep them in. They're having none of that. This guy has done everything possible to take care of his sheep and to keep them safe, but the sheep have other ideas. But that's a shepherd's job, to take care of the sheep, keep them safe and look after them. In this story, we are the sheep. We are the mess, all of us, and try to go our own way. But Jesus, our shepherd, who calls us by name, going before us when he ascended into heaven, like we talked about a few weeks ago, I will come back to it, so that one day we could join him. Before that, I want to talk about peace, verse 5. He will be our peace. Not the world's peace, not peace in every situation, but our peace. I was trying to work out, what does it mean to have peace? We are told to chase our peace in this life with 15-step nighttime routines, workout schedules, meditation, eating or drinking your greens, maybe water. That's good. You have to do something to find your peace. And it's your peace, personal to you, so no one can tell you that you're doing it wrong. But what if that wasn't the way it goes? What if peace was a person that could come and bring peace not just to every situation, but to every single person? Not with personal things, but with a relationship with God. That's what peace is. Jesus, the shepherd, trades his place for ours. So peace for our mess, and he gets into the trench so we don't have to. And I need this because I am rubbish with peace. And so is the world, in my defense. In Young Adults recently, we set ourselves a challenge with this thing that Jesus says in Matthew. It's called the Beatitudes. He talks about what God's kingdom is going to be like, and it's not what any of us would think of. And I chose to be meek for a week. We were chatting about it. It means gentle, bring some peace to the world. How lovely. I started 2 arguments on purpose because I got bored. And that was me genuinely trying to bring peace to the world. Luckily for me and for all of us, Jesus works despite us. Verse 7, but like the dew, which are those water droplets that you get on grass if you wake up early enough to see it. It's always there. You can't stop it. God can save the world and bring it peace, not only without us, but in spite of us, when we get lost or we forget to listen to his voice. If you haven't heard God's plan to save the world, I'm going to explain it briefly. Jesus sacrificed himself like a good shepherd, dying for each of us, trading his life for ours so that we could have a relationship with God. Not only that, but did he not stay dead? Because he is perfect and death cannot hold perfection. He then ascended into heaven, going before us to the Father. We are all his sheep. And what do we need to do? We need to believe that Jesus did that for us. We need to say our sorry for the things that we do when we get in the way of our relationship with God. The thing is, even though Jesus came and saved the world, it doesn't feel very peaceful. All you have to do is look at the news to see there is not much peace going on. There are things in life that make us feel personally unpeaceful as well. So this is rubbish. Jesus was meant to fix it before he left. He was meant to be our peace. Micah said so. So what's going on? Unsurprisingly, Micah goes on. Verse 9, to basically the end, if you have it open. The world is going to change. And there will be true peace for the rest of time. We just have to wait until Jesus comes back. That's the promise that he makes when he leaves and ascends to heaven, that he's going to return. That's what we're waiting for. That is when things will be how they should be. The rest of Micah 5 talks about the things God is going to do, and when the world is finally going to be put right forever, he's going to take away idols, which are the things that distract us from putting God first. I'm sure that we can all think of things that distract us. My phone would be mine. Whoops. Then the world will be perfect, and we will have a relationship with the God that created everything in the beginning. When I first got to choose which passage in Micah I was going to speak on, I sat with the Bible open and I prayed, and I was like, God, what do you want me to do? And we've talked a bit about the Holy Spirit, and we can sometimes feel like we get a sense from God. We feel like God is speaking to us. So I sat there and I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Felt something. 6, 7 and part 1, 7 part 2. I tried that again because I'm nothing if not scientific. 5, felt something. I was like, right, okay. I emailed Wayne and I went with it. And I was driving back from London, which is where I get most of my best talk writing done, is in the car. And I listened to Micah 5 the whole way through, and I waited on God, and I was like, what do you want me to say? This is going to be really exciting. I got 3 words: tell the gospel, which, if you don't know, is the truth about what Jesus did. The thing that I just explained, it means literally good news. And I was a little bit disheartened, if I'm not going to lie. I was like, God, I felt something. This is going to be amazing. 3 words. Come on. So I might have been potentially a little bit cheeky. And I went, God, come on. There's got to be something more. Talk to me. He had a challenging reply. He said, when did you become content with sharing the gospel? I got outdone in a second. God was right. No real shock there. We should be excited to share the gospel. There's a moment for many of us when we first believe. It feels like a light has been switched on, and it's really exciting. We get it. And what do you do when you're excited about something? You tell people, because it's amazing news. My sister can attest to my just became a Christian, really excited sharing. We go on drives a lot, love the car, we love a chat. What can you do? And when I became a Christian, all of a sudden, I was talking about Jesus all the time. She was confused, and I was not doing it very well, but I was passionate. Did it change her mind about Jesus then and there? No, that happened years later, and it wasn't even to do with me. But I still shared the gospel, and I did not stop telling her for those years. And what was really cool was then Megs became a Christian, and then she got the, oh my goodness, and called me and told me about Jesus like I didn't know, and it was so cool. But that was when I was 19. It's been years. I don't do that anymore. I still love Jesus. But when did I become content with knowing him and not sharing him? Like something that can change lives, because he changed mine. I literally wouldn't be stood here if it wasn't for him. Micah is speaking when everyone was divided. The idea of peace was so far away. But he told of a time when the world would be saved by that shepherd king. He didn't even have how yet. But he took the time out of his rant to tell it. We know that Jesus came. We know that he died. We know that he rose, and we know that he's coming back. We have so much more detail. So let's share it with the passion that it deserves. It does beg one more question. Who do we tell the gospel? Well, Micah has something to say in verse 3, I think. The rest of his brothers return to join the Israelites. See, up until Jesus comes, the gospel had mainly been for a specific group of people. The Israelites, Israel, God's chosen people, the line of Abraham, Jewish people, they had a lot of names, same group. They were the only people that were assumed to be in God's family. The Old Testament breaks that rule a lot if you look, but that was the assumption. These are God's chosen people. But Jesus, that shepherd that knows every single sheep in his flock, he came to save every single person in the world. He's inviting all to God's family and have a relationship with him. So, who do we tell? We tell the whole world. That is a tall order, I grant you. And you may feel that you are small among the clans. You might be the only Christian in your friendship group. You may be the only Christian in your workplace, in your school. But we have God on our side who can work through us even when we don't want him to or we're not doing it very well. Verse 7, like the dew that comes even when we are trying to stop it. There we go. If only we are ready to give it a go. So we can't be content with sharing the gospel because it causes us to keep it to ourselves. It becomes old news that we don't even think about sharing. If you would not call yourself a Christian, or you were in the past and you're figuring it out at the moment, I have a different point to you. One, you're in the right place to figure it out. So ask questions, listen, really grapple with this. Because Jesus, the shepherd, knows you, loves you so much that he died for you so that you could have a relationship with the God that created you. And that has to be at least worth exploring. And if the people in here who are Christians have listened to a word I've said, they're going to want to chat to you about it. So ask someone over coffee, have a chat. If they don't know the answer to all your questions, that's okay. They can point you in the direction of someone that does. So, Micah 5, the breath of fresh air turned out to be a reminder that Jesus, that shepherd king, has come, and either we should explore what that means, or we are called to not be content with sharing the gospel, but to share it with everyone because Jesus is coming back, and we want everyone to know. I'm going to invite Wayne up, and we're going to pray.